Hello and welcome back to the semifinals of the modern $5,000 Apex Invitational Qualifier here at Apex Con in sunny Caldwell, Ohio.
It's still cloudy.
We're getting to the point where it might be dark.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
I am Ross Merriam, joined in the booth by Corey Baumeister, and we have 4 players left in this tournament. This is the big round at these tournaments.
Yeah.
There's 2 slots to the Apex Invitational, 2 slots into the regional championship. So the winners here will be qualified for both of those tournaments later this year. And there's still plenty of cash on the line as well.
And that's big game. You know, both the RC and the Apex Invitational are just great tournaments, you know. So qualifying for both right away this early in the season, that's some big stuff.
Yeah. So let's go to the top 8 bracket. We'll see how we got here and what decks we have left standing. So, let's start at the top, actually. We got Chris Hafner defeating Matt Sims, Boris Energy, Eldrazi Ramp.
That is not what we expected. I mean,
coming through in a tough matchup is Hafner, and now he looks a little bit better against Garrett Widman and Domain Zoo after Garrett took down yesterday's champion, Alan Miller, on Is It Prowess. I generally like Boris Energy in that matchup.
Do you? Okay. I think it's, you know, I don't know how many times I say this about Domain Zoo, but it always comes down to if they have Leon and Scion, I think they're very favored, and I think this is probably the same. I think it all depends on like how many Static Prisons, Thraben Charms are in that Boros Energy side.
2 of each, so the typical amount.
Yeah, that's fair.
And then at the bottom of the bracket, that's where we're going to be starting on coverage for this round. We have TJ Radizak on Kethis combo against Riley Baker on Gruul Broodscale. TJ coming through against Mono Blue Belcher in the quarters, while Riley took down Brendan Lane and the Esper Gorios. So 2 combo decks that beat other combo decks.
Yeah.
Now have to play another combo deck.
Yeah, so far, I have been so impressed with the Gruul Broodscale Eldrazi hybrid that Riley is playing. You know, it took down the Spotlight. It's been crushing other events. It's hard for me to argue with that because Kethis is such an unknown quantity. TJ, of course, a phenomenal player, so, you know, he's got that going for him for sure. But also, Riley has a main deck Soul Guide Lantern to interact with TJ's combo. TJ doesn't have the most to interact with what Riley's doing.
Yeah, certainly not in game 1.
Yeah.
TJ will have a lot more post-board to interact with Consign to Memory, Dismember, Portable Hole, Pithing Needle. So things could really slow down after sideboarding as both players bring in a lot of interaction. They both have a lot of card selection to find those interactive cards.
Yeah.
The tiebreaker there for me then becomes Riley Baker in these long, drawn-out games can build towards Emrakul, the Promised End.
Is that a good one?
I think that's going to be pretty good.
Yeah, because that's the thing. It's like, now I hope Riley Baker is getting a quick tutorial on how to combo with Kethis, because if you Emrakul, you can just mill yourself.
Oh,
say go. I will say, Ross, in case you didn't notice it, it's hard to not go for TJ here because the holiest of cards is still in a modern deck list right now. There's a 1-of Grinding Station in TJ's deck, so it's hard to not root for the hero, Grinding Station.
He's just trying to retain the value of our grinding stations.
Yes.
I don't know about you, but I haven't sold mine yet.
Oh, I absolutely have not, and I knew they were of high value before, and I don't want to look.
So we may have missed the boat, so hopefully TJ can bring that value back up. Okay, looks like our players are ready in the feature match area, so let's head down there and get this semifinals underway. Looks like TJ on your left, Riley Baker on your right. TJ as the 6 seed will be on the play to Riley's 7 seed here in game 1.
Yeah, and TJ's deck, you know, if you're not familiar with the Kethis combo, I'll explain it here in just a bit, but the core shell is the shell that Breach left behind. The Emery, Tamios, 8 Moxins, and Malevolent Rumble. So you start with that, and then you build a combo deck accordingly. And then Kethis, of course, is trying to fuel your graveyard with a bunch of legends, activate Kethis, bring back a bunch of Mox Ambers, Mox Opals to generate mana, Jace the Perfected Mind to mill yourself out first, mill yourself a good amount of cards until you can then flip the script, play Jace, mill out your opponent, say go, and win the game.
Okay, so TJ starting this game off with a Mishra's Bauble. Baubled himself, liked what he saw, so draws that before cracking the Scalding Turn, which was his land turn. Riley starting with a Grove of the Burnwillows and an Ancient Stirrings, which will find a Basking Broodscale.
Okay, good start to the combo for sure. And I see Rumble, Ballista, Cavern, and Urza's Saga for Riley.
So missing the Blade of the Blood Chief, but that's the one half of the combo that Urza's Saga can tutor for.
Exactly. So next turn, just Urza's Saga into Rumble looks perfectly reasonable.
TJ cracking the Scalding Tarn for a Hallowed Fountain on the end step, falling back down to 20 after he uses up the life that Riley gave him with Grove. That is a Boseiju Who Endures and a Rona the play for TJ.
Rona is incredible in this deck. The deck is completely full of legends, so being able to just turbo draw, you're not doing any combos, you know, Retraction, Helix, any of that kind of things we've seen in other Rona decks. It's just a good value card.
Yeah. Now Riley declining to play the Urza Saga, goes for Cavern on his turn instead as a second land, and then plays that Malevolent Rumble. Looking at Haywire Might, Boseiju, Forest, and another Broodscale.
God, I wonder why.
Yeah, really valuing potentially the constructs, but this game could end very quickly. TJ can kill on turn 3 with a turn 2 Rona.
Yeah, they can both kill very quickly, and whenever you're playing this combo mirror, constructs go down in value significantly. So, you know, these combo mirrors are where I like playing Saga on 1. You know, as soon as possible, get it out there, get your value, get your hate cards or your combo pieces as fast as possible.
Yeah, can either find Blade or Soul Guide Lantern, either option available in game 1 for Riley Baker.
Yep.
Okay. Looks like he took the Haywire Might off of the Malevolent Rumble, and now we're back to TJ's turn. Starts it off with a Rona Loot, discards Hedge Maze. Here's a Mox Amber, that'll untap the Rona, loot again.
I'm very jealous right now. This is exactly what I want to be doing.
Discards Plaza of Heroes. You and me both, Corey. This looks great. Mox Opal, untap Rona, loot again.
Oh, baby. And we haven't made a land drop yet, right?
Nope.
We could be all done here. I see Kethis. I see Plaza of Heroes. Now, you do need more than just assemble, hey, I put Kethis into play. You need a good amount of legends in your yard, plus the ability to fuel it, aka usually Jace or a redundant Emery.
Right. Well,
one Emery helps.
That'll untap Rona as well. Mill 4.
If we got another Emery here.
There's a Grinding Station and a Mox Amber.
Okay.
Second Mox Amber will definitely help TJ. Now let's Rona again. Discard Kethis. Plaza the land for turn. And here's the other Kethis from TJ's hand.
Okay.
That'll untap Rona as well. Let's loot with Rona.
And now we're out of mana, air quotes here, but with the Jace in hand, if there is, say, you know, 2 Moxes in the yard, maybe 2 Mox Ambers is kind of what you need, we'd be good to go. But you need a bunch of channel lands and stuff, too, to be able to exile. Looks like it was not enough. Sure, you can exile Kethis, maybe 1 legendary channel land, but if you have to start exiling your Moxes and your Jaces, then you just don't have the resources.
Yeah, TJ did have another Mox Amber in graveyard, but that was his only other source of mana. Could have tried to play that Amber with a Kethis activation, untap the Rona, loot into another Mox.
Yeah.
Might have given him enough, but decides instead to play it safe because Riley's not that close to comboing.
Yeah, my question would just be, well, how on earth am I going to die, or how is something really bad going to happen to me? And I don't think there's a lot of ways. You know, the one thing, once again, if you would have played Saga on 1, this would have been the Lantern turn, and, you know, that would have looked great. Now, the only other option here looks like a K command for 2.
Yeah, needed a Eldrazi Temple to get it up to 3 to exile the Kethis. That would have been great as well.
Yeah, agreed. And I mean, I think now the best thing you can do is just K command for 2, get rid of Rona, get that Jace out of there, as well as any other kind of legendary permanent you can target. I think that's what I'd be trying to do, because Rona will pick you alive here.
Yeah.
But Emery's a problem too. You can Emery back Grinding Station and probably cook with that as well.
Emery back Grinding Station will likely just win the game with the extra Mox Amber. Right.
Oh, I just got so just happy. Just saying the words Emery a Grinding Station.
Just awash with euphoria.
Yeah, exactly. Gets to exile them in response. Not that it actually matters, as there's no instant speed
Yeah, that's
thing going on.
Kozilek's
But
command to tag the Rona and get the 2 best cards in the graveyard.
I'm wondering if they were the best, though. Grinding Station looks incredibly good to me right now, especially with that Rumble. Like, just bring back Grinding Station, add mana from the Moxes, and that, like, just has to be enough, I feel.
Yeah, and I think he had left the Mox Amber, too.
Yeah, if anything, the Amber is for sure better than Rona for anyone playing against this deck. But here's one of the aspects that, you know, honestly, Breach had for the longest time. When it's an unknown quantity, it's incredibly hard to play against. That's the same with Kethis here. It is a very tough deck to play against, and not a lot of players have seen it in action unless you played Historic. Well, it was good during that one, like, 6-month stretch, you know, where they had pro events over it.
So TJ plays the Grinding Station with Emery. That also completes Metalcraft for the Mox Opal. So now Mox Opal is a source of mana.
I think we did just tap that Hollowed Fountain for that Rumble, though, if I...
No, he floated with the Mox
Okay,
Opal
okay, gotcha.
before sacking it to the Grinding Station.
All good.
With the untap trigger on the stack from the Grinding Station entering.
Oh, you calm down over there, okay?
And I think we're pretty close to the explain stage of the game.
I would think so as well. So what is going to happen? Well, TJ's about to do the explaining. I'll do the same for you. So the one interesting aspect that's not really intuitive from Kethis is you exile cards, and then whatever cards are in your graveyard that are legends, those can come back. Now, if you start to mill over more cards, more legends, they are in a different subset of your graveyard, essentially, where you have to activate Kethis again, so Kethis sees those cards.
Yeah. So TJ's going to split his graveyard into the castable and uncastable portions.
And the legend and non-legend.
Yeah.
So this, this graveyard is now like a 4-square.
But now with a Mox Opal and Mox Ambers, every time he activates Kethis, he's going to be able to mill 6 cards at least with the Grinding Station, find more Moxen, then exile some legends he doesn't care about to keep the loop going. And as he finds more Moxen, he mills more and more cards each iteration.
Yep. This feels deterministic, but, it is probably technically not. So they're going through the motions, making sure they do everything correctly. And I gotta say, this deck has looked really nice. It's a little awkward as you are playing the classic, a bunch of blue 1-drops plus your Abzan Legend deck, but, this is another deck that got unlocked with Mox Opal.
Yeah. Now, if you're Riley Baker here, you very likely understand that you're losing this game.
Yeah.
You also have access to TJ's deck list already.
Correct.
So what is the incentive for him to keep playing out this game?
I would think to just see how it's done. To see how TJ is doing it, get an idea of what are the important cards, because, already, I would say a minor thing, but Riley made a mistake when we exiled the cards from the graveyard. The Rona didn't matter. The Mox Amber is more important, so maybe Riley learns that bit of information as we're going, and that's valuable in itself when you are trying to maximize your chances to win a tournament.
Yeah. The other legends in the deck are all card selection cards, Emery and Rona. But once the cards go in the graveyard, the cards that really matter with Kethis are the ones that make mana, the Moxen, and the Jaces that keep milling you.
Exactly.
In this case, Jace less important because Grinding Station is now the mill card that came back with the Emery.
Always has been.
In general, Jace is the one you're doing most of your milling with.
Yep. And whenever you get to low resources and you got to start trying to combo off, those are the exciting times because, once you have to start eating your own Moxes to activate Kethis, that's when you got to start getting lucky to maybe, all right, I have 4 more mills. I need it to be Jace and some other legends, those kind of things.
So now TJ's built himself up enough mana to be able to cast Jace from the graveyard with the Kethis, which does cost 1 less, so 3 mana will get Jace on 5. That mills TJ for 15 cards. That should be enough fuel to just cast Jace a couple more times and start milling Riley.
Yeah, absolutely.
And Riley does have a couple Emrakuls in his deck, but they are not Emrakul the Aeon's Torn, so the mill plan will work.
Yeah, no kidding. If you have that Emrakul in your main deck and you're playing the TJ combo deck, you're just like, all right, I've seen enough.
Well, then you just need to get one of those Soul Cauldrons. You Soul Cauldron with the trigger on the stack, then mill them out again.
Okay, now you're cooking. Or I guess TJ's worst matchup has got to be Battle of Wits, right? Like, you cannot mill that many cards. I do not think it's possible. Like, okay, I'm going to do this.
Yes, we have now officially entered the explain portion of the game.
But, I mean, especially during our Swiss, where it is not open deck list, everyone should make TJ go through it at least once. See exactly what's going on in this deck, and see what's cooking.
Yeah, hopefully this game was a learning experience for Riley Baker, and he comes back ready in the post-sideboard games to attack him more appropriately. So, checking out sideboards for our players, Riley Baker has 2 Damping Sphere, 3 Dismember, 1 Grafdigger's Cage, 1 Pithing Needle, 2 Pyroclasm, 2 Thief of Existence, 2 Thought-Knot Seer, and 2 Veil of Summer. Corey, what do you like?
Get them all in there. All right, maybe not all of them, but a lot of them look really good here. Damping Sphere looks excellent. You can really shut down the combo aspect there. Dismember looks awesome because you do need to deal with those turn 1 Emery Tamios. The games look a lot different when they get to run away, or Rona, as we just saw, that completely took over this game. Grafdigger's Cage, shutdowns, returning any of the spells from your graveyard looks excellent there.
Shuts down Kethis, shuts down Emery too.
Yeah. Absolutely. Pithing Needle kind of does the same. You know, those are 2 extremely good targets where sometimes, you know, probably not, but like maybe you have too many targets where, you know, you got to prioritize which one you are for sure going to hit, and there's already a Soul Guide Lantern, but this is going to be the type of deck where you're just fine drawing one of these 1-mana artifacts naturally. I don't really love Thought-Knot Seer. Thief of Existence doesn't look that amazing either. And then Veil, if we have a good amount of counter spells, but I kind of doubt we don't. So yeah, just the cards I listed before that.
These are both Saga decks. They're going to be focused more on permanent-based disruption, which I think could incentivize the Thief of Existence. There's a Pithing Needle in TJ's side to get with his Sagas, so he can Pithing Needle Riley's combo the same way Riley can Pithing Needle TJ's combo.
That is true. That is true. Yeah, could definitely consider that one. The one thing I would say as a counterpoint to that is Riley can just be like, all right, you dealt with my combo. I'm going to go big and go Emrakul, because that might be plan A anyways in this matchup.
Yeah, just disruption and Emrakul.
Yeah, Writhing Chrysalis into Emrakul as fast as you possibly can, as it doesn't seem like TJ's deck is that set up for that, unless you bring in a bunch of consigns, which every blue deck has.
TJ's sideboard has 3 Consigned Memory.
There we go.
Ashiok Dreamrender, 1 Boseiju Who Endures, supplementing 2 in the main, 2 Dismember, 2 Orm's Chant, 1 Pithing Needle, 2 Portable Hole, 1 Teferi Time Raveler, supplementing 1 in the main, and 1 Urza's Ruinous Blast. Corey, what do you like there?
Okay, so for this one, I think I like the consigns as they hit basically the entire deck, but there are a lot of Caverns of Souls, so it is not perfect by any means. So you still have to be a little wary of that.
Can also hit the Urza Saga trigger to stop a Pithing Needle from entering.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep, Boseiju for that same reason. You can deal with Urza Saga. The Pithing Needle looks good to me, and also the Portable Holes look pretty solid at dealing with opposing hate cards.
Okay. So a lot of good sideboard cards coming in for both of our players.
For sure.
They are going to finish shuffling up and sideboarding before game 2. And while they do, I'm going to shout out our sponsors, starting with Mox Field. They're the ones that host all of our deck lists. Deck lists from this tournament will be up on our Mox Field later this week. We also have SpiceRack.gg, running our tournament software. Also a great source for deck lists if you are a player. Great partners to work with running tournaments if you are an organizer. We are also sponsored by Ultimate Guard. In fact, we are streaming right now on the Ultimate Guard channel. So if you're watching on Ultimate Guard, head on over to Apex Gaming and give us a follow as well. Ultimate Guard, of course, the industry leader in TCG gaming supplies, from the Boulder deck box to the Katana sleeves. Check out your local game store for Ultimate Guard products today.
We're in 2 channels. We should try to get in a third.
You want to be a third? Okay.
Yeah, let's get in another channel.
Yeah, maybe we'll stream on Once Upon a Galaxy, our last.
There we go. I'm in.
Weekend. A brand new auto battler. Assemble a crew as you sail across a diverse and spectacular galaxy of your favorite storybook characters, legends of myth, and other cosmic entities. Check out your app store today. Download Once Upon a Galaxy. It's free to play.
It looks fun, too. It really looks fun. Their previous games that they had, too, I played quite a bit of, so I got to give that a shot.
Okay, players are ready in the feature match area here for Game 2. Riley Baker going to be on the play with Gruul Broodscale, trying to level this match against TJ Radizak and his Kethis combo deck.
Let's see. A search for some Eldrazi temples. That is just far and away the most important thing from these Gruul Broodscale decks, at least just having one. Being able to supercharge your 2025 Matter Reshaper Glaring Fleshraker on turn 2 is what it's all about. And there we go.
It's just a ramp spell that costs 0. It's basically a Mox.
Yeah. And I do see Glaring Fleshraker and Cavernous Soul with Eldrazi Temple. And I mean, TJ just cannot deal with that.
Yeah, this could be a turn 3 combo for Riley Baker if he has the Basking Broodscale.
Yeah.
Starts with Eldrazi Temple and Blade. TJ starts with Scalding Tarn fetching for Breeding Pool, so he'll drop to 17. Has a couple artifacts in Mox Amber and Mishra's Bauble, and that will enable a turn 1 Emery. How do you feel about that one?
I mean, that Mox is like a Mox as well, so this is looking real good. And flipped over Grinding Station. I'll be right back. I gotta go high five TJ, okay?
Grinding Station and a Kethis, so if he has a Soul Cauldron, could this be a turn 2?
I think it totally could. There's also just a Kethis there. It's a little tougher. Mox Amber with all these blue creatures don't work very well with helping out Kethis, so you're right. It does have to be one of the 2 Agatha's Soul Cauldron to really get that going.
So TJ...
Oh, but Riley has this and Fleshraker. Oh, yeah, I guess you can't cast both, so... All right, making the choice to play Lantern instead of Fleshraker. Totally agree with that one.
Oh, but... with the Soul Guide Lantern trigger, decides to exile the Grinding Station instead of the Mishra's Bauble.
Lost to it last game. Get it out of there.
Can exile the other in response to an Emery activation if he wants to, but then won't have access to the Soul Guide Lantern for a later Kethis turn.
Yeah, that is interesting because Emery can bring it back, and if you go to target Kethis with a Soul Cauldron or something like that, you can respond to the Lantern. So it probably is correct to get the Grinding Station first. It also might be correct to just sack the Lantern now before the Bauble came back, you know?
Yeah, TJ goes to Emery on Bauble, and Riley lets it happen. Wants to keep this Soul Guide Lantern around to stop the combo turns, so he's going to give up a little bit of value up front.
Yeah. Also could be totally reasonable here.
And Mox Opal plays a Tomio. TJ also had an Urza Saga this turn, so in a couple turns, he'll have a piece of disruption of his own. That puts a little bit of pressure on Riley to try to assemble his combo quickly.
Yeah, if you squint hard enough, this is Team or Breach.
TJ baubles Riley, so TJ knows that top card. Does it on Riley's upkeep, so TJ will draw from Bauble on his own upkeep.
Okay.
Now Riley has Cavernous Souls.
And flipping Tamio is actually a really big deal here because Mox Amber adding green mana makes playing Kethis a lot easier.
So that's why TJ timed the Bauble the way he did. Cavern will cast this Glaring Fleshraker, and now Riley has a second copy of Blade of the Blood Chief. That'll make an Eldrazi spawn.
And you can just start getting pretty aggressive. You know, you can strap both of these blades to Glaring Fleshraker, sacrifice that, and all of a sudden, you know, you are cracking in for a solid chunk of damage. You know, so that is what I really like about this Gruul Broodscale deck is it has the Broodscale combo. It has the over-the-top Eldrazi Emrakul style plan, but it can also just beat you down with that middle ground of Writhing Chrysalis, Glaring Fleshrakers, and Constructs. You know, it really does it all.
Yeah, it's very much a tripartite deck. TJ has a little bit of the dual aspect with the Saga tokens. Kethis can attack. So he gets a little bit of that versatility going as well, but nothing compared to the Gruul Broodscale list.
Absolutely.
So that was a channeled Otawara on the Glaring Fleshraker from TJ.
Okay, and that was a Haywire Mite picked up from TJ. That could be kind of big game.
And could deal with the Soul Guide Lantern to set up his Kethis turn, but with a second Saga, he might just be on a Construct plan.
Yeah, why not?
Has a Jace in hand. That one's not going to do a whole lot.
Yeah, looks like a Kethis as well in hand. I could be wrong, but I mean, this Bauble is going to eat him alive. Yeah. It's already done a good amount of work.
And at this point, there's also the Haywire Mite Riley knows about that can deal with Soul Guide Lanterns, so I don't want it to just get his value.
The Haywire Mite then gets dealt with by the Soul Guide Lantern, though.
Yeah. But you got the Bauble out.
Yeah. Yep.
So now, you know, Riley is letting TJ play around with the Bauble and draw 2 cards every turn in the hopes that he can use the Soul Guide Lantern to stop a combo. But the Haywire Mite ensures that that Soul Guide Lantern's not stopping a combo.
Exactly,
If TJ
yeah.
doesn't want it to.
Yep. And I mean, I guess the more time you waste, the more cards that just naturally fill the graveyard from TJ that you can eat with the Lantern. But yeah, I'm with you. I think I would have cracked it just immediately with that Bobble being targeted. It feels kind of bad, but okay.
Well, this is a combo from Riley Baker.
Yep. So now a colorless Eldrazi amount of mana is being floated.
Yeah, which can matter if you want to start the combo by adapting Broodscale, since Temple mana can be used to activate abilities of Eldrazi creatures, but in this case, Riley's likely going to start the chain with the Eldrazi spawn that came last turn from Glaring Fleshraker.
Yeah.
So now equips the blade. TJ can exile one of the blades, and then Riley will need another mana to equip the second blade before sacking the spawn and start the loop.
Yeah, and has the mana available via the Scion or a land drop that hasn't been made yet. But that being said, this is the combo in the sense that you can make an infinitely large creature that can attack.
But then we know there's a Fleshraker in hand that got...
That's true. Yeah, you're right.
That
You're
would
right.
kill TJ.
Yep, totally right.
So we know...
And the command and all that stuff. So yeah, you're right. This is just GG if we get it going.
Yeah, and TJ knows about the Fleshraker, so he knows he has to stop this Broodscale and Blade from going off if he wants to win this game. Just has to figure out exactly how to do it. He goes for Haywire Might on the Blade.
Seems like the literal only thing you can do, which feels quite bad.
Now, does Riley have another land? He does not.
He doesn't.
Just to pass the turn. TJ going to make a construct with the Urza Saga that's on...
And now Saga on Chapter 3 has to find some way to break this up.
Okay, so just sacking a clue on the end step that came from the Tamio.
One thing you could have done is sack that Scion to re-equip the Blade, because Pithing Needle on the Blade shuts down the combo, but, you know, otherwise Pithing Needle doesn't really do anything after it's already equipped.
Yeah, but then he'd have to find some other way to get it going. I guess the Fleshraker and any colorless spell would do
Exactly. Any way to generate a Scion, and we saw 2 K commands in hand, so it's trivial to get one more Scion. Sure, you couldn't adapt if you lose, or if you get needled there, but needling the Blade here looks very, very strong.
That is exactly what TJ does.
And you have to do it now. You have to pop that Lantern now, otherwise Haywire Might just cleans it up anyways, so. All right, you can do it later.
So, Haywire Might gets cast from Emery. Now things looking pretty good for TJ.
Definitely. That was the turn of reprieve he needed, and I don't think TJ had a consign, anything to interact with, so I think Riley just had it all wrapped up with any land, which is pretty brutal.
I will say, right now, TJ a little land light. Okay, has a Hallowed Fountain in hand.
The perfect amount of lands. An Urza Saga in the middle and one on each side. That's all you need.
And if he wants to make constructs, they're going to be very big. There's already 4 artifacts on the battlefield. Well, looks like instead TJ wants to play a Jace.
Okay.
This one is completed, so it'll enter on 3 loyalty.
Could just draw a card, just a simple value. Nope, okay, just shrinking. Basically irrelevant, but Riley has to have a lot of things go right here.
Why did that Broodscale go to the graveyard?
I was just thinking the exact same thing. Yeah, it's just shrunk. Okay.
Riley thought it might be -0, -3, and not -3, -0.
Yeah, oh my goodness.
Yeah.
That'd be the greatest Jace of all time. 3 mana, nameless
one,
inversion. Yes. Oh my goodness.
Kill all your creatures, and I'll draw some cards.
Yeah. That's really the perfected mind.
Yeah, that's MH4.
Yeah. There you go.
Okay, here's the Fleshraker redeployed from Riley Baker.
And now you have the ability to command for 1, and then you could essentially get 2 Scions out of it. But really, all roads lead to
roam. That's the way to go.
That is it, yeah. Well, that makes it easy on Riley as you just are 100% forced into sacrificing this.
Yeah, and
that's not so bad here.
Yeah. Frankly, if I'm TJ and my opponent keeps letting me recur, it might as well keep going for more.
I was thinking the same thing. Like, maybe you don't want to, but I mean, it's either that or target the blade that you already have locked down, but...
If Riley has an answer to your needle, then he can combo.
Yeah.
So it's not like TJ's in a completely unassailable position. Riley is, a thief of existence away.
Yeah.
From winning this game.
No, you're totally right. But I think TJ also runs the risk of, oh, this time we sack the lantern and now I don't get Haywire in my back, but...
That just happened anyway.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
All right. Scalding Tarn for TJ is the land for turn. And really, for him at this point, it's about ending this game.
Yep. And I will say, I think Riley has 2 commands in hand. They work quite well when you have a Glaring Fleshraker in play. They work well together, as you can just be like, bunch of Scions and whatever mode. Get some Scions in play. They each trigger off the Fleshraker. You get an additional one off the command, and then use them all to get more Scions.
And TJ is at 13.
Yeah, like I think we could easily have 13 damage next turn if it was indeed 2 commands that we have. Okay. I was going to say interesting to rumble first, or to rumble second, but wanted the green mana off the Kethis to turn on Mox Amber. I guess you still have an Opal available as well.
But now he leaves himself more variety with the Opal.
Yep.
So TJ has all the components. He just doesn't have a very stocked graveyard.
Yep. Needs some more stuff going on. Needs, the main card of the deck. The Grinding Station.
Unfortunately, that one's in exile.
Oh, that's why you got to play 2. We learned those lessons so long ago. Maybe even 3.
Does have the Jason play.
Yep.
So this can fill up his graveyard. Yeah, TJ set this up nicely.
Yep. It's still not deterministic right now, though.
Oh, no.
You need to hit some legends here.
And Moxen. So that's a good start.
It's only 1 legend, 2 legends, 3 legends, 4... 5. Okay, I think we have enough to at least try, I think.
Yeah, and 2 Moxen, so you really need 3... If you can cast 3 Moxen off an activation, that'll replay Jace for the full 12. 2 Moxen with a Kethis will play a completed Jace, and that'll mill 9. 3 Moxen will mill 15.
So what does that look like? That is 7.
And he has an Emery activation still this turn, so that can be used for an extra mana.
Yep.
With Mox Amber. It's the Mox Opal. So
I would think regardless, TJ doesn't have enough interaction for the possible ways that Riley could win with that Fleshraker in play, that I think you have to go for it.
Yeah. All he needs, he has a full Jace, because he has 2 Mox in a graveyard with Kethis, Mox with Emery. That's 3 mana for a full Jace. That'll mill 15. If he finds any other Mox in those 15 cards, now he has exile 2 legends, mill 15.
Yeah.
On repeat, and that should be enough.
It looks good enough here, and one of those tokens I believe is a Scion. And this is a good spot, TJ looks like he's in a great position, but this is the time to slow down, make sure you got it locked up. You got yourself I think he might be saying go.
Okay.
Oh, maybe not. This is just, I'm interacting here with a command.
So this is a Kozilek's command for 4. This can exile Kethis.
No, this is a K command for 1.
Oh, yeah, because he played
Yeah,
he played the Fleshraker. So, yeah, this is a Kozilek's command for 1. That's not going to do a whole lot.
No. Is it even for 1?
Well, maybe he wants to... Okay, gonna exile a couple of the cards in the graveyard.
Okay, so gets yeah, was for 1.
Then he gets 1 Scion off the Fleshraker, 1 off of the Kozilek's command. So
Yep.
it's make a Scion, exile 2 cards, because you get to exile 2x. But once again, attacks some various legends, exile like a Rona and something else, leaves TJ with the Moxen and the Jace,
Yeah.
which are the cards he actually wants to use to combo.
Yeah, because TJ just exiled in response. You only get to exile 1 card, but TJ just used that card plus 1 other thing to exile.
Here's a Jace milling again, and there's another Mox for TJ, and I think that is going to be it.
Yeah, there was another Mox as well, plus an Emery. Oh, yeah, we're cooking. And a Boseiju. Boseiju there is great to exile. So you put those in a separate pile like TJ is doing. Now TJ still has the ability to play the Emery pile with that Mox Opal. So you get all the value that you can out of the stuff that you can cast. And then the way Kethis works, you need to then exile 2 more cards for them to see all the legends. It's not a very intuitive card.
So we have 3 piles. We have castable legends, uncastable legends, non-legends.
Yeah, and an exile zone, of course.
Yeah. But I think this is going to be the last turn of the match, and that would be the last turn of our semifinals, because I can tell you that on our backup table, Chris Hafner on Boris Energy defeating Garrett Widman in a quick 2-0 match there. So Chris Hafner is awaiting the winner of this match in our finals, and it looks to me like it'll be TJ Radizak.
Yep, looking like it. And who's the higher seed there? It's got to be Chris. No, Chris is the 8th seed. That's right.
So TJ, the 6th seed, gets to be on the play in the semis and the finals.
Wow.
Living the dream.
Wow, some people have all the luck. And this seems like a deck that is very beneficial to being on the play. TJ does not really interact game 1. You know, looking at his list, you have a Haywire Might. You don't even play Portable Holes in the main. This is an all-in proactive combo deck for game 1, and then you really adjust your game plan. So I'm here for it.
He's got an Ether Spellbomb.
Yeah.
Fairy. Can bounce some stuff.
Yeah. That's it.
Boseiju, that Goblin Bombardment.
Now you're cooking. Now you are cooking.
I think TJ's the one who's cooking. He's doing a lot of stuff.
Oh, yeah. I have to test this deck out. It seems like an absolute blast. Going through the motions here, but whenever you start pointing the mill at your opponent, it's over. So, the one thing is TJ is at 11. Riley will get to untap and cast gigantic commands. Maybe it's only 1, you know, and it probably isn't enough, but that is still an option, because what are we going to have? 4, 5, 6, 7 mana.
So that'll make 5 tokens plus 1 from Fleshraker.
So 6, yeah.
Deal 6, and then he can also scry 5, draw a card to try to dig for another Kozilek's command.
You do not have a library.
Oh, yeah. Can't do that.
But we did cast one of those commands for, like, no reason. You know? Like, what if you just go to your untap step and be like, yep, you got it, and then I go and I double command during my turn? Like, I think Riley literally could have exile whatever.
He would have had 1 fewer spawn at that point.
Yeah.
And Kozilek's command for 4. That also makes a 5th copy because of the Fleshraker, so that's 5 damage, and TJ would have been at 13.
Yeah.
So he goes to 8, and then you play another one for X equals 3. That deals 4 damage. You're 4 short.
Yeah, still short. And, you know, I'm sure TJ can line up something where you can find a way to draw yourself a couple cards while you're comboing off. Maybe find a consign and get that done as well.
Yeah, play a little bit more carefully there. So,
Yep.
But, you know, unnecessary at that point. TJ just mills out the deck of Riley Baker, takes the second game, and takes the match. So we have our finalists, TJ Radizak and Chris Hafner, 2 mainstays here on the Apex series. Both of them early locking up their invites to this season's Invitational.
You knew both of them were going to be there.
Oh,
for sure.
And now, you know, potentially could have round 1 buys. Top 8 on the leaderboard at the end of this year. We'll get a buy in that November Invitational. Both players here setting themselves up well to earn that advantage.